Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cyrils Brettspiele.
That's exactly how I say it.
I know. And, you know, I have this cool little beautiful logo. Huh? Did you saw it? Anyway, okay, let's talk about Karuba today. Hopefully you rightly pronounced that. You never know how you really pronounce Karuba. Or do you know?
I don't even know what it means. Yay, German.
Me too.
So.
And anyway, let's talk about Karuba and let's talk about, like always, about the rules first. Is it Kathleen or is it Nils? You will figure it out. Ooh, mystery.
Yes. In Karuba, each player has an identical set of terrain. Notice here that it's wooded on these two sides, and on these two sides it is ocean. In turn, each player will take a turn placing one of their either temples on the wooded or one of their meeples on the water areas. Each player will place their temples and their meeples in the exact same spot. So if I place it here, young Nils will place his there too. And then you go around until everything is placed on the board. Players can choose which they want to place, and then you place those little meeples and temples down on the board. Then you get into the actual gameplay. One player's chits are all face down, and just like in bingo, they will draw a chit and they will say what it is. Everyone will find that chit, and you can place this anywhere on the board. You can place this in the middle. You can place this adjacent to one of your meeples. It's really your choice. And then play will continue as people continue to build their board all the way around. Now, eventually, what might happen is, one thing to notice, it's important that the numbers are always oriented up. You can't have them turned in any direction you want. The direction does matter. Now, as players place, there may come a chip or a tile that isn't ideal for them at that particular moment. What you can do is then advance your little workers there, your little guys. So you can see this one has 2 points of exit for the path, whereas this one, as you can see, has 4. This one, as you can see, has 3. What a player could choose to do is actually, instead of placing this on the board, they can discard it and then advance one of their meeples that number. So this is 2, they could advance it 2. This is 4, they could advance it 4. Play continues as players continue to build on the board, and when they finally get one little guy to one of their meeples to their pyramid, they take the highest value scoring token that's available. In this case, it's a 5, and the values go all the way down 4, 3, and 2. The game continues until either A, all the players, or one player has gotten all their meeples to the various pyramids by building pathways, or that we've run out of the little scoring chips. Everyone will have run out of the little scoring chips, and then the game immediately ends. You add up points. Now, if your meeple, when he's moving, lands on a tile that has a little diamond, you get to collect those, and those will add to your little scoring kitty. And then there's white diamonds. There's also gold. The gold costs 2. So at the end, you add up your scoring tokens, you add up any gems that you've accumulated, and the most points wins.
Thanks so much for the rules, Kathleen.
You're so welcome, Nils.
Here in St. Louis. Anyway, let's talk about the components, the quality of the components, and all of that. So, always in HABA games, I really like the wooden pieces.
For those of you playing the Cyrils Brettspiele drinking game, every time Nils says that he likes the wooden pieces, drink a whole beer, because he doesn't say it that much, but it happens every episode. So you love wooden pieces, huh? Custom wooden meeples.
Okay, you are getting drunk in the next 5 minutes when I'm saying that 15 more times. Yes, I do. I really like the wooden meeples.
There we go.
Customized wooden meeples. I like it.
Yes.
So,
I mean, they just capture the evocative mystery that is the temple in the middle of the forest. I mean, when you play this, you feel like you are there.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, when we are talking about components, what will you say? I mean, there are no cards in it. These little gems are getting more and more popular. This is gold, this is gems. So there's...
How much did the game cost?
I think roughly 30-ish.
Perfect. Yeah, it's got, I mean, a nice sturdy player mat board, which is nice. If this was any thinner, it might warp, and considering how important this is, that's good. It's even got a little space over here to organize resources after you've collected them, either the scoring tiles or the little jewels. So this is like totally nice and functional. The little tiles are good. They're color coded on the back, which is nice for every player to have. So I'm always a big fan of making things easy to sort out. The numbers on them is easy to see. I think there's no problem if someone has any color blindness, except for some of these might be difficult for people with color blindness to see. I don't have color blindness, so I don't know where like the mix-ups are, but those might be a little bit iffy.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe with the scoring tiles too at that end. But honestly, as far as
they are differently shaped, so
those are differently shaped. So there you go. So that's fine. So that might be the only issue as far as components go.
But there's no problem to ask in the game because nothing is secret.
Nope.
Everything is open knowledge. So that's not a big issue.
Yeah, the components are great.
Let's go over to critics. So the only real problem for me with that game is set up. When you set up all the 36 tiles, that is a little bit of boring. I would say always every single game we played it for the second, third, or fourth time.
Right.
Someone is screaming, "I will be the expedition leader. I want to be just to make it randomized here, and the other ones have to sort out the numbers." This is the only complaint about the game, and I don't have a solution for that.
Well, I mean, when I play, I just kind of keep them clumped. 0 to 9, 10 to, and that's what and that's relatively quickly to sort out.
Yeah, I saw that. I loved it.
Yeah. So I just have to search through a little pile, but not a big deal. And especially as the game goes on, it's not a big deal as far as that goes. I mean, it can be kind of brutal when you're not planning things out well, which you only realize in retrospect, of course. The one thing I think that might be kind of interesting, sort of taking a nod from Fitz, is if every player drew one randomly at the start, and they had to place that one first, and then the game would just play as normal. And what that would do is then it would make sure that everybody started out differently, because everyone's setups are the same. It is possible that as you draw tiles and place tiles, you could just copy mirror what somebody else is doing. And so just by drawing one different tile, maybe even two different tiles at the beginning, players might have a little bit of a different start.
Interesting variant. Very interesting variant. I've never seen, to be honest, at the end of the game, maps totally similar.
Right.
Never. So,
but it's possible.
It is, in theory, it's possible.
Oh, yeah,
however, then I would say take two and throw them out instead of placing them. So
yeah, have you ever run out, or where people have been very close to running out of tiles when it comes to placement and movement?
Yes.
So that's my concern, is if you throw out a couple tiles at the start, then you might make it even harder to finish at the end, which could make it interesting. But then if somebody on accident throws out two of their cross pieces, the most powerful piece in the game, then that wouldn't be good. But at least if you or even to start with two pieces on the board, it might balance that out a little bit.
Yeah, but then you can have exactly the same. If you have this curves that you probably cannot use, and you start because you cannot use that in the corners, and the other one taking.
But you know what though, that happens a lot in the game anyway, where there's just pieces that you get that are just no.
Yeah, but if someone is lucky and draw two of them, two of the crosses, and start out with a cool, good start,
then that means they were meant to win. And fate was shining upon them.
With just drawing one out
then
of...
fine, make them throw it back and say the max you could pull for free at the beginning is 2. I mean, or the max that you could have at the beginning are just, a 2 or a 3. I mean, you could, like no gems or must have a gem. I mean, you can come up with whatever variant you want. But I think that would at least give everybody a slightly different start. And so to me, I think that makes sense.
I have to say, for me, for especially fun replayability, I've never seen a group that was not in the mood for replay it again and again and again.
Oh yeah, well, especially since it's so fast, and since you're already set up basically, then you might as well just play it again because you've already got the
correct.
Because it says 45 minutes, but I don't think it's
that's a lie.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think at the most it's ever taken us really is like half an hour. So and that's what I mean. There's very little player interaction as far as who gets a scoring token first. That's about it. There's nothing you can play that's like, oh, I drew the little skull card, and that might be kind of cool too if there was an expansion where they had some things to maybe mess with people a little bit more, give other people an advantage maybe or something like that. That'd be kind of cool to see. I think there's some possibility there with expansions or something. Like even like tiles that would benefit certain colors or different colored gems and have other benefits. I think there's a good starting point in this game where you could even come up with some fun house rules on your own to kind of spice it up a little bit, just to make it a little bit more interactive between players. Because that's probably one thing that I would say it's missing the most. It's pleasant. It's interactive in that when bingo and someone's calling out, everyone then does something, but that's not quite the same thing.
It's really interesting. Not all of you, so a couple of my playtesters always call that a mixture of bingo and Carcassonne, or bingo goes into the jungle, or things like that. My elevator pitch was always to say Carcassonne meets Indiana Jones. But everybody else said there's so much bingo in it. But from
you're pulling chips, each one with a different number on it. That's bingo. I don't have a problem with it being bingo, but it's bingo.
Yeah, but bingo is for me always a lot of randomness in it, and you plan ahead your path you wanted to go.
If I'm playing bingo and 069 comes up, my reaction is the same every time.
Okay, it's up to you. So you're here today. It's totally different, like all the other things. So let's speed it up to get to the real interesting thing. Mm-hmm. So replayability for me is super, super high. I have to say, again, every time I played that with people, they wanted to play it again and again and again, at least 3 times in a row. And to be honest, I have never had that with another game before. One of the reasons is it's super fast.
Never?
3 times in a row? Always? What other game?
Iron Dragon.
That is a 1.5 hour game?
Minimum.
So that's a 2.5 hour game. And
I like games.
Yeah, and you wanted to play it 3 times in a row?
So,
and all of the other ones in the group as well?
Well, if I'm just playing with my sweet treat Mark.
Ah.
No, I know, he's so good. No, this is definitely a game that lends itself to replayability, especially because you might just have a really, like, crappy, busted kind of setup, and you're just glad it's over, and thank goodness it's only about a half an hour long game. And so when you play it, you know, especially if you play like 2 or even 3 rounds, well then you can even do like, you know, like total up all your scores together or something like that. So that can make it, so even if you have a bad round, it, you know, it can feel like more successful in the series of 3, something you could do.
It's really interesting for me. I'm totally swingy in the last months or even in the last year between heavier games. Usually I'm the Euro and heavier Euro gamer. Mm-hmm. However, this tiny little 20-minute games, when they make click, I really love that.
Right. Well, because it's they took, you know, route network building, you know, chit pull, you know, sort of mechanics, area movement, the very simple kind of mechanics, and they did a really good job of remixing them in a way that it still manages to come across as like a fresh, unique kind of experience that players will play over and over again. It is a very pleasant game feel to it. You know, even when you're like, when I was playing around, I had 9 points one game, and it's almost like you're trying to do badly at that point. But I wasn't. Even when it was that bad, luckily somebody else like won like super fast and ended the game. So, you know, even when it's like not going great, you're not sunk into a big, huge, long, terrible time suck.
That's true. So you can restart it again and have back to 0 for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the recommendations. So I make it quick, easy, and dirty for me. It's a high recommendation. I really like it. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best games for the last months for me. Mm-hmm. So definitely run out and buy it immediately for me. Which have I ever said that before? Probably for Adventureland. I don't know.
Yeah, you love Adventure.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, for me, honestly, I would probably agree. I've actually spent a good amount of time lately paring down games in my collection that don't really seem to see the light of day. I don't care about having a collection just for a collection's sake. So with this...
we should switch over to the shelves over there.
Yeah.
That's roughly 150-ish, 200
Around
games?
200 games. In my classroom, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
I have the luckiest students ever. I do. I tell them that all the time. But no, this is definitely one I would get because this is one I would get out to play. I would teach this to students. I would have them to see this. So this would be a really good teaching game as far as to learn different mechanics, different ways to give players choices in a way that's really fun and enjoyable, because that doesn't always go together for me sometimes. And I'm trying to find like intro level games. We've had kids with very little gaming experience come to Board Game Club. They expect Monopoly, they met no risk, and they sit down with this and they're off and running within seconds. So this is a really good game for that as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely a gateway game.
Yeah.
Or one of the gateway games from 2015.
This is your beginning of the night game, your end of the night game, easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Or 2 times high recommendation. Run out and buy it. I think we have never had that before. I don't know.
Iron Dragon's being republished.
Yeah, it's a little bit older, right? And it's 2.5. Anyway.
We're going to review that one, and it's good.
I've never played it. So... I know. Okay, this was another happy-sode of... It was a happy...
It is a happy-sode.
Of Cyrils Brettspiele with...
Kathleen Mercury.
And Nils. And I would say see you next time. Bye-bye. And we played Karuba from HABA Games. There's a box, finally. Okay. See you. Bye-bye.